This is the Onion News Network, now with more attacked satellites than any other network.
Here are some of the stories we're tracking right now. Malia Obama's arranged marriage to a Taliban chief has brought a tentative peace. A new medical study finds a glass of wine each day may help you tolerate your existence. And Portland, Oregon opens the first community-run cooperative McDonald's. The more you fight the fact zone, the tighter it grips you. Welcome to the Fact Zone. I'm Brooke Alvarez. Right now, we're continuing the Onion News Network's coverage of the death of the American dream. The end came at 12:14 p.m. this afternoon when the last person in the nation to believe that America is a land of boundless opportunity, that is Edward Tuffy, a bar owner in Pennington, Illinois, quietly let go of the dream while watching television and eating cereal on his couch. Onion News Network reporter Andrea Bennett joins us now live from Pennington, where she's standing by with Mr. Tuffy himself. Andrea.
Thanks, Brooke. Mr. Tuffy, can you briefly take us through what happened?
Well, I run this bar, Tuffy's Tavern. Been there 15 years. And I had this plan that I was going to start a couple of locations, like maybe a small chain, you know, add a grill, some palm trees on the wall, make it like a real cuisine atmosphere.
So expand your business and build a better life for you and for your children.
Yeah, like that. So I woke up this morning and I decided I'd try to get myself together and drive over to Middlesbury and check out a couple other spots in case I ever got the money to open up another bar. And then I was flipping through the channels of the TV while I was eating my breakfast, and I started watching that movie, Eraser.
With Arnold Schwarzenegger and Vanessa Williams.
Yeah, and I forgot how good it was. And I started watching that, and then I started watching this show with these doctors, and they were talking about these sex problems, and then I realized that it was noon, and I hadn't even put my pants on, and there was not a chance in hell that I was ever going to start a chain of bars.
So that's when the American dream died.
Yep. And then these reporters started calling me, and before I even got out of the shower, there was all these TV crews here.
So did you feel anything when the American dream died?
Nah, not really. Kind of hungry, I guess.
All right, Mr. Tuffy, what's next for you?
Well, I got to get back to the bar. Tommy doesn't know how to use a register.
All right, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Now, let's talk to a few other Pennington residents about their reaction to the American dream dying. Sir, what did you think when you heard the news?
Well, as long as we keep the bald eagle as our national symbol, I'll be happy. Bald eagle's pretty sweet.
Okay, thank you for that. And what about you, sir? What are your thoughts?
Well, you know what? As long as we can still drink without our shirts on, I didn't really care about Tuffy's American dream.
All right, and ma'am, what about you? Were you shocked to hear that the American dream had died? How did you feel about this?
Well, no, but truth is we're still really proud of Tuffy being a role model for all those lackluster Americans that have given up their dreams. You know, I was going to make him a plaque, but then I was like, why bother?
All right, that's the story here in Pennington. Back to you in the studio, Brooke.
Thanks, Andrea. Well, Mr. Tuffy's abandonment of his bar and grill plan marks the end of a long decline for the American dream. For a quick look back now, let's go over to Tucker Hope at the Recon Wall. Tucker.
Thanks very much, Brooke. As you may remember from your history books, Congress put the current American dream in place in 1894. Prior to that, the American dream had been to have a cellar filled with barley corn and to die in a manner not involving horrific disease or torture. But it wasn't long before the allure of the new dream started to fade, as evidenced in this letter written by a riverboat porter in 1901. I could toil to heft twice as many sacks of sugar each hour, but never would I rise above my lowly stature. Better then to drink and nap. By 1940, more than half the nation had completely given up trying, a phenomenon addressed in popular radio dramas from the time.
Jimmy, I've been working on this here ranch since before you were born.
Wow.
Yep, I'm too lazy to go out and do something that might make me happy.
Ah, jeez.
In the 60s, a combined 100 million people gave up the dream after smoking their first joint and deciding everything was pretty much fine as is. Then, in 1984, millions of Americans gave up the dream en masse when the song 99 Red Balloons made them realize that they would probably all die in a nuclear war anyway. By 2008, only 3 people still believed in the American dream. That is until FedEx employee Ramona Ellis gave up hers after getting pregnant from her manager, Theo. Then last year, 5th grader Paul Wang gave up in the American dream when he told a group of classmates that he wanted to become a great scientist and cure cancer, after which he was called a fag and pushed into a mud puddle. Bringing us to today, when Edward Tuffy gave up as well, finally extinguishing the last vestige of the once great American dream. Brooke.
Thanks, Tucker.
You bet.
We'll, of course, have more updates from Pennington throughout the evening. But right now, let's move on to some of the other big news happening around the country. In a dramatic scene last night, a coalition of the nation's damaged women staged a drunken, tear-soaked march on the Capitol just after 2 a.m. The Onion News Network's chief Washington correspondent Jane Carmichael has more. Jane.
Thank you, Brooke. The damaged women began their protest yesterday afternoon, marching on the National Mall at about 4 p.m., and then marching away furious, saying they were done with Congress once and for all. But then they came back again late last night, insisting that someone in Washington listen to them for once.
Congress, all we're asking for is a little bit of respect, a little bit of your attention. Nobody ever listens. I don't know why tonight would be any different. This just plays into all of our abandonment issues.
The late-night protests started with tearful apologies, but quickly moved to anger as marchers demanded that Congress pass a bill making it illegal to say you love someone and then up and leave as soon as there's one little problem.
Why are you ignoring us? Stop ignoring us! Why don't you hear me when I talk to you? Wipe the smirk off of your face. No, come back! Come back, because we think that we want you to care about us!
I don't need to pay a therapist to tell me I'm unhappy! I know I'm unhappy!
Following a very frank declaration from the women in which they opened up about the abortion they had when they were 17, Delaware Senator Tom Carper released a statement saying that Congress wasn't going anywhere and that they would do all they could to help the women. However, around 4:30 a.m., the women admitted that they had made up the abortion to get sympathy, then started cutting themselves while repeating, "This is the love you deserve," over and over. That's when Capitol Police were called to break up the protest.
I told them that they all had to vacate the area, and then they started yelling, "You're just like my dad because you're trying to control everything." And then one of them said, "I know you want to hit me, I can see it. Just go ahead and do it. Just hit me in the face." And then she started crying.
This morning, the Damaged Women's Coalition released a statement denying that they had ever marched on Washington, claiming Congress was, quote, always trying to twist things around to make us look crazy. Brooke?
Thanks, Jane. That story brings back a lot of memories. I won my first Pulitzer for my coverage of the historic Spa Day Summit between the damaged women and the nation's concerned sisters back in 1999. Well, the damaged women weren't the only ones hitting the street today. In Florida, about 300 people gathered outside the state capitol to protest a new bill that would allow same-sex couples to adopt. The protesters say it's unfair to raise children in an environment where they will be habitually exposed to people calling their parents terrible names and shaking God hates fag signs in their faces. For some expert analysis now on this always controversial topic, let's turn to the Fact Zone's first responders. Duncan, does gay adoption endanger children?
Oh, absolutely. Recent studies show that children of gay parents are 10 times as likely to be screamed at by someone they don't even know and 20 times as likely to be told that their gay parents are the spawn of Satan.
Yes.
Now, how is that not detrimental to the development of a child to see some crazy woman screaming at their gay parents that they're going to be sucking dick in hell forever?
That'll mess with the child's head.
But to be fair, most homes are hellscapes of tension and despair, no matter if they're straight or gay. Yeah. Growing up is a roller coaster ride of torment, either way.
But Laura Lee, not all the effects are mental. Children of gay parents are 50 times as likely to be hit by an errant rock or to be trampled by a large group of people carrying signs.
And many of these protesters have pledged to rapidly fight this issue to the death, which means that no gay couple can ever really provide a stable home life for their children, no matter how many years pass.
Well, maybe the gay couple should be required to take a class in parenting so they can learn how to avoid these protesters who want to hurt or harm their children.
Having those hate-spewing protesters in their lives is not a choice.
Right, but just as the gays have the rights, the homophobes have the rights to take away the rights of the gays.
Good point.
This is America.
And you don't have to be straight to protest a gay issue. My uncle was the gayest man in Panola County, but he was still the first to come out and condemn homosexuality.
Look, just as long as gay parents agree to be self-loathing and to teach their children that homosexuality is wrong, gay adoption should be fine.
Yeah, that sounds right. Thank you so much, first responders. Why don't you take the rest of the night off?
Thanks.
Let's head back now to Pennington, Illinois, where it's been confirmed that construction on a permanent memorial to the American Dream will begin next week. The monument will be made of metal that, like the American Dream itself, will slowly disintegrate over time until it collapses upon itself. And the base of the sculpture will feature an eternal flame where people can write their hopes and dreams on slips of paper and then set them ablaze. Visitors can meditate on the memorial from the comfort of one of the 50 Barca loungers, which will ring the base of the statue, symbolizing America's 50 states. All right, we have to duck out of the fact zone for a few minutes. Let's take you out on the song that many consider an unofficial anthem to the American Dream. Sitting here waiting for the money to roll in from the Joe Biden Band. Stay in the fact zone.
Just waiting for the money to roll in. Just waiting for the money to roll in. Roll on.
All right, now let's turn to some political news.
Follow Twitter during the Onion News Network on IFC and find out what Brooke Alvarez is thinking. Still ahead on the Onion News Network. Presented by Acura. Acura Advance.